shall naturally concern myself with the struggle for national liberation and self-determination in Azania. The struggle in Azania is a colonial one, not apartheid. The colonialism of Azania was effected by the joint colonialism of British and Boer colonies in 1910 by establishing what was then known as the Union of South Africa. This took place after the last war of dispossession in 1906, when the indigenous Africans were completely deprived of their land by racist settler colonialists. Therefore, the present struggle for liberation in Azania is for the restoration of their land to the rightful owners, the Africans, and not primarily against apartheid, which is in any case merely a consequence of dispossession. In 1962 saw the beginning of guerrilla warfare in Azania. This was known as the Poto Uprising. Those who come from Azania will remember very well, those who are old enough. But of course now we have a young generation which hasn't heard about that way. And between 1962 and 1964, 202 PAC guerrillas were executed by the foreign minority regime. You know, I think some of you probably maybe started with that, maybe hearing it for the first time. This is not my own. It is, now you will find it in the Hansa of 1964. So now it was reported in Parliament. So these are facts which the liberal newspapers or the media throughout the Western world has never mentioned. That this now took place. These people were executed after engaging the settler police and army in the battles of Kamata. Those will remember. Who else? Some of us remember very well. Rustenburg. I remember there was panic in Rustenburg. You know, the people were running out of town, the whites, during that time. Mbashi is in the Transkei, just between the border between Transkei and Ciskei, when we just leave it now between Transkei and Ciskei. Paarl in Cape Town. There, of course, people were killed and houses were burned. Not in the township, but right in the center where the oppressors were. Mlonzi, Queenstown, you know that one of Queenstown, I see it vividly because I met the heroes who actually took part there when we were in Robben Island. Mkomban and others. So now you can see that now. And we, PAC, had raised the largest guerrilla army in Azania, internally, not outside, the largest. In fact, even today, no organization in Azania, internally and externally, has been able to raise that number of guerrillas as Boko. the racist regime, passed a special settlers colonial law, the Sobukwe Clause. No, the Sobukwe Clause, it was a clause which confined my late president on Robben Island, where they succeeded to poison him. And that is why today we don't have him. You see, he left Robben Island a wreck when he had finished his imprisonment, because they couldn't keep him legally, so they had to make a special law. That's criminal. I don't know if PAC will forget that. Which was aimed at crushing the leadership of the PAC. No other political organization in Azania ever had a whole act named after its leader. The PAC members and leaders were the first to be sentenced to life imprisonment on Robben Island. There are those three, Shivani, Tefu, John Osi, and there are many, Jafta Masimula, we can't mention them all. They are the first. They are the ones who filled Robben Island in the 60s. I mean members of the PAC, that is Poko members. The Soweto Uprising of June 1976 was the work of the Pan-Africanist Congress and the Black Consciousness Movement. Only members of these two organizations were charged and imprisoned for the Soweto Uprising. Fortunately, I was with them. I was with them in what we might call the Nuremberg camp in Pietermaritzburg. We were there, interrogated by the police in Pietermaritzburg. And when I look at in front of me, I see Keke. I mean, can you stand up? Can you stand up and see you? We were together in that grilling machine of torture. So, and it was PAC and the members of the Black Consciousness Movement. Well, sometimes, of course, history now, as written by the liberals, has depicted this 1976 student uprising as spontaneous movement of the students, only fighting against Bantu education. Well, let it be so. But history is evolving and showing nothing can take place of that extent, of that dimension, takes place spontaneously. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now we have analyzed the white community. We have the West conservative side, of course, like any other community, and the so-called the extreme progressive side. But in Azania, they bear this same common element, and that is now they all believe in a minority, in the domination of minority, perpetually. You see, they differ in how they are to put it into practice. At its inception, the PAC took certain positions. It committed itself to the unity of the Africans under the banner of African nationalism in order to overthrow white domination and to repossess the land and establish a non-racial democratic socialist order. Socially, we stand for the full and complete development of the human personality with the active creation of the conditions that will encourage the rapid disintegration of group exclusiveness and the emergence of a single and united African nation devoted to the tremendous task of developing the country and creating a distinctive African culture. We who are Pan-Africanists, Pan-African in outlook, are committed to Pan-Africanism and a union of African states, which is a unitary and centrally controlled whole. I am announcing proudly, without fear of contradiction, to this important gathering, that the struggle for the national liberation and self-determination of Azania involve all the Africans, internally and externally. With the workers and peasants as the vanguard of that struggle. The late PhD Mangaliso Sobukwe initiated this idea in these words. It is our contention that the vast illiterate and semi-literate masses of Azania, of Africans, are the cornerstone, the key, and the very life of the struggle for democracy. From this, we draw the logical conclusion that the arousing and consolidation of the masses is the primary task of liberation. It also involves all the Africans in the diaspora throughout the world. That's what I'm announcing now. We contend that is equally their task and duty to actively participate in the freedom of the last colonial country in Africa. So come in large numbers to join hands with us in this Herculean task. In that way, we are bound to conquer because we are assured of victory. Now, here is the last country in your continent, Africa, Azania. Come in large numbers and overthrow that racist regime. We do not only want you to come and overthrow that regime. We know that now the Africans in diaspora are the ones who have acquired skills, technology, and many other things, and education. So we say now, come again to Azania and develop it because it is one of the richest and the most developed country in Africa. You are going to stop this exploitation of your wealth of Africa being sent overseas and processed. You will develop them. Azania has all those minerals. Come and help us now. And please continue to help us to consolidate and now develop that country that is Azania, which is now has all the necessary industries that you can think of. So now, I say so now without any qualms, that now you are Africans in diaspora. It is not because of anything else. It is a stroke of history which you all know. You are not here because of your wish. You are here as the product of history. Come back home. Come back home. Don't remain foreigners in a small, tiny island. You have a big continent where you can be free, which has everything. Go back and develop that continent. It will be England coming running, the English running to your continent, to you. And you are the people who can only do it. Remember, this is not an empty a threat or an empty statement. Remember that in 1992, Europe is coming as one to exploit your continent, Africa. Are you going to remain seated here to wait for more Africans to be pushed to become slaves in England when they have such a big continent? Right on. Come home! Come and free that continent. Come and free Azania. Come, let us free Azania. That is now my message, which I leave with Africans all over the world. Africa. Forward to the freedom of Azania.